If you guys want to give a quick 30 seconds intro, last night I had Anthony on, Inform with Anthony, and I was like, Anthony, we'll start with you. You can give an intro first, and then Deborah. And he's like, he goes, listen, Jordan, I'm so sorry, but I'm a gentleman. Can the lady go first too? And I was like, for now on, I will never ask a gentleman to go first in the intro.
Bring back chivalry. Bring it back. I like that.
Bring it back.
So you want me to go first? Okay.
I want you to go first.
Well, my name is Alex, also known as Living Life Like Alex. Live your life like me. It's amazing. But I'm known for my 60-second or less rant videos that tend to get me in trouble sometimes. But yeah, I just kind of tell it like it is for people who have a small attention span or whatever. So
which is everybody.
Is everybody. Everybody that's like my age. I'm 25, so everyone and younger than me has small attention spans. So I cater to them, and that's what it is.
I love it. Jorge, man, you've been working yourself. What you been up to, and what's your quick background?
Yeah, so quick background. Jorge Ventura, working right now for the Daily Caller, field correspondent. So basically covering all, anything national news, just always on the front line. So any big stories that you're hearing about, usually we're boots on the ground. So we will cover riots. Just recently, I was covering in California the lockdowns, restaurants, and mental health. We were at the border. So any big news stories, you'll usually catch us there, giving you the news, giving you the real updates. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Intercept just wrote a fucking hit piece on us, so some good stuff. And yeah, and the cool thing is I work with James a lot. We're both from California originally. I'm in DC now, and it's been a lot of fun and having fun on the journey.
I love it. James,
what's going on, everyone? I'm James Klug. So I started off on YouTube. I still do YouTube, and what I also do, basically I do man on the street content primarily, and then also what I do, basically reporting on things that most people don't want to report on. And so that's where obviously George and I spend a lot of time going to riots, getting the footage that people aren't showing. And I think big reason, I'm sure we'll touch on this, but a big reason why we start going to these things is just because I guess the classic example is the CNN mostly fiery but mostly peaceful. There was a massive gap in the truth when it comes to a lot of these riots or protests or anything like that. So I heavily focus on that as well.
I love. Well,
thanks for having me.
I mean, dude, I'm so seriously, I'm so honored to have. I mean, you, James, all three of you guys. I mean, I've been following you guys. I get my news from you, and so I appreciate your work. I was serious, James, when I was messaging you. Come on. Put me in the streets with you, bro. Let's there.
Anytime you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. I mean, that'd be awesome.
It'd be a
I want to be on I want to star in one of James's videos.
100%. Absolutely.
With a 60 second,
I'd love to have you.
I'm only going to be in it for 60 seconds.
I mean, let's talk about that, because I think over the last, one thing that Trump did more than anything was he exposed the news and the media for where they are, the bias. I mean, that was the biggest thing. I mean, I watched mainstream media all the way up really until the last year. This was a new thing for me to think like, oh my gosh. I mean, I knew there was propaganda. I knew that there was a bias. The example of what you said, James, a little bit ago, you have, it's mostly a peaceful protest, and then there's a building burning behind them. You know that they're not telling the truth. We've seen the edits that they've done on Trump's speeches when it comes to Charlottesville. We've seen the edits when it comes to all Mexicans are rapists, and how they love to splice edits to push a certain narrative because they get clicks. We've seen what Project Veritas, the leak that happened a month ago with, the COVID box, they're like, the COVID counter. And I can't remember the head guy of CNN. He was like, we want that counter to be on there because it gives us better ratings. It instills more fear. What's his name? The CNN.
I forgot off the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about. Basically got exposed for pushing the fear-mongering kind of agenda, getting people afraid because it's financially beneficial for them.
I've said this study almost every single night of my life, is where you have, and it's perfect for this conversation, where I read a study like 3 weeks ago on, I can't remember exactly where it came from. I need to remind myself. Where 78% of Democratic voters trust in the mainstream media. They see a headline and they mostly believe what it says to be truth, or they trust those organizations and corporate media organizations. Where after the November 3rd election and what happened over the last couple of years, less than 10% of Republican voters or conservative voters do not trust the mainstream media. And so this is why people like you guys are thriving so much, and people are so engaged with your guys' content for the work that you guys are doing. So right now, you're messaging me 15 minutes ago, you're like, I'm going to be there. I am literally at a protest right now. Where are you at right now? What are you doing? What are you seeing? Because there's protests rising up all over right now, the nation, specifically with this Israel issue in Palestine.
Yeah, so what I've been covering the past few days has been I've been going to pro-Israel rallies, and then I've been going to pro-Palestinian rallies. I think the purpose of a lot of these demonstrations is to show support for another nation. It's not necessarily that these people are like, oh, I'll turn this place to Israel, or oh, I'll turn this place into Palestine. No, I mean, they're just trying to like raise awareness, right? That's the
right.
Protesting, everything like that. So totally respect their right to protest, everything like that. So I just got back from a pro-Palestinian protest. I was at a pro-Israel one the other day. And yeah, I actually did want to say something that is very interesting, and I will be talking about this more, is George, I'm not sure if you've been to one just yet, but I noticed that it's kind of the similar group as the Black Lives Matter group. It really is. They have similar chants that are just kind of shifted to like a pro-Palestine chant, but it's the same groups. I mean, I saw them today, people wearing Black Lives Matter gear, everything like that, which I found very, very interesting. And yeah, well, everyone was peaceful today, though. It was a peaceful rally today, though. Aside from
it's funny you say that, because I posted something on my story. I mean, I just watched all your stories, and all the chants are very similar. I saw the video. I don't remember where I saw it. I posted on my story, and it was the chant was "Hey hey ho ho, Israel has got to go." I mean, that was the chant that they were chanting. And this was in Dearborn, Michigan. It looked like there was 15,000 people hitting the streets, and that was the chant was "Hey hey ho ho, Israel's got to go." But so the videos that attract us the most are that most outrageous ones. Like we've seen some of those. LA's been a little bit crazy, and you've been seeing some of the clashes in New York. From what you're seeing so far, it's been pretty peaceful.
From what I've seen so far, I mean, we've all seen clashes and stuff here and there. From what I've seen so far, it's been very peaceful. The rally for Israel the other day that I went to, there was a DJ there. I pulled up and I'm just like, okay, we look at a lot of protests and everything. I pull up and I'm like, all right, like everyone was having a blast today. People were very friendly today. We had a little bit more pushback today just because like I said, it is a BLM kind of crowd to where I asked this one lady, naturally, to pet her dog. She saw that I was with Newsmax and started screaming at me, kind of. So there is that difference there, but both crowds remained peaceful. Aside from today, just a little bit harassing officers at the end, stuff like that. The standard now for what I think is unacceptable, it's kind of screwed up. Like what I think is unacceptable is like up here, just because we've seen so much crap that today was fine. They've been peaceful for sure.
Yeah. And Alex, I just saw one of your videos a little bit ago. You gave one of your 60-second rants on this issue, specifically speaking to Bella Hadid. I can never say her last name. Hadid. Give us a little preview.
That video got me into some trouble with people that follow me too. I was like, oh shit.
For sure.
It's awkward.
I mean, what is so touchy about this? I mean, obviously it is a touchy issue, but I mean,
Very.
Black Lives Matter is a touchy issue. Race is the most touchy issue, I think, in our generation, especially in the last 10 years. But this has come like out of nowhere. It's been like out of left field in the last week, and now we're seeing these. I mean, from the conversation that you guys have had or what you guys read, Alex, you can go first. What's the temperature on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just this is a very touchy topic because it's a conflict that's been going on for literally centuries. I mean, this is not just something that's 10 years old, 15, 20 years old. Like, this has been going on forever. So there's just so much information. So obviously I was only touching on certain topics and extremely quickly. Everyone is like, their heads are filled with all of these like aesthetically pleasing infographics, which they're great to the eye, and you're like, oh, this is interesting, let me read this. But it's also filled with a lot of misleading information and a lot of things that are left out. And then everyone's looking at their favorite celebrities to educate them on topics that they should not be looking at them to educate. They're looking at Bella and Gigi Hadid, who are naked half the time for their job, and you go ahead into the Gaza Strip, they're not going to be treated the way that they're treated here in America for being naked by doing their job and modeling and so forth. Yet they're looking at these girls to educate them on a conflict that's been going on for centuries. So it's just a very extremely touchy topic, and I don't know, it's harder especially if you're like a Christian, because this is also coming at like a spiritual war as well. I mean, this goes back like to biblical times, back to like Genesis. So it's like,
totally.
you know, for people who are not spiritual or Christian or who are not into that or don't read the Bible and don't really know the history and so forth, you know, they're going to be kind of confused. And like I said, there's a lot of information. You know, I'm not even going to tell people to don't rely on me to give you all the information either. You know what I mean? You have to take it upon yourself to open up a book and actually read everything that's going on. I mean, it's going to take you a while to get educated on these topics. There's just a lot of misinformation, and the media is doing exactly what they always do for every single topic, BLM. And now with this conflict is that they're pushing specific narratives.
Right.
And it's also like no one is even actually paying attention to what they should be paying attention to with like Hamas. So it's like free Palestine or Israel's bad, but it's like maybe you should do free Palestine from Hamas, which is
Right.
you know, under this terrorist rule. I mean, they're literally
Exactly.
using their people as human shield. You're placing your anger and energy at the wrong people and at the wrong thing. And it's just everyone's like walking on eggshells on social media right now. It's like kind of crazy. I didn't even realize I was going to get that big of a pushback from people that follow me. You know,
Yeah.
my stances and stuff, so it was kind of weird. But I don't know.
And you're getting pushed back from conservatives.
I am. Yeah, I'm getting pushback from conservatives, which I don't care. Like, listen, I'm not going to make every conservative happy. You know what I mean? That's not my job to make you happy either. You know what I mean? It's not my job to make you comfortable on the left or the right. It was just unexpected, I guess.
I mean, I just went through all three of your guys' Instagrams and I saw an interview, and they some of the people, I believe is from the Israeli side, they said exactly what Alex just said. They were where like if Bella went into the Gaza Strip, she would be hung for just the clothes that she's wearing. The division is interesting because you have this, you know, majority of people on the left, they side with the Palestinians, and you have the majority on the right. I'm not saying it's that way. It's so partisan. Like a lot of the morals and the values that majority of the left stand for. I mean, Palestine in itself, when it comes to human rights, they are against everything that they believe in, what they fight for here in the States, which is a very interesting, and I honestly don't understand it. I mean, did you have any of those conversations with any of the people there, specifically when it comes to human rights, gay rights? Because again, holding a queers for Palestine, you have that sign walking down the Gaza Strip, I don't know if you're going to get the reaction that they would get here in the States.
Well, pretty much what I've been doing is I've actually, you know, I spoke with some Palestinians today and stuff, and I brought up the points that I spoke with Israeli Americans about and had them kind of combat it. That is one topic that I didn't really touch on today. I didn't get a chance to do that just because I didn't have that much time. However, I completely agree when it comes to who is upholding liberal values. It is true that Israel, gay person, females, will be treated better in Israel. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, kind of what I've been focusing on, because this is a very complex conversation.
It is.
It's a very, very complex conversation. I understand that. I have a lot of followers that are conservative,
on both sides,
like Palestinian or Israelis. Pretty much what I've tried to do is show people the talking points. And you know what? If there's a side that's stretching the truth when it comes to a lot of these topics, I mean, a lot of people don't want to talk about Hamas hiding weapons in schools, all of these things, what Alex brought up, using civilians as human shields. And I did speak with a Palestinian American that was condemning Hamas earlier today. However, the majority of what I found, and this is just what I found, the majority did not want to condemn. They believe Hamas is actually doing the fighting for them. So to Alex's point, where she's saying free Palestine from Hamas, from my personal experience so far, and I've only been interviewing a handful of people, but for my personal experience so far, it's not a very popular stance to condemn Hamas from the Palestinian side. That's just what I found so far. So.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday, or was this 2 days? I think this was 2 or 3 days ago. We had a CNN contributor, tweet, "The world needs a Hitler again." I don't know if you guys saw that. He recently got fired as of yesterday.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if I believe this was yesterday as well. It's so interesting, the state of where not just our country is at, but the entire planet. I mean, I've interviewed 6 people in the last 7-8 days that are living in Colombia and hearing what they're going through. In obviously Canada and New Zealand and all these, you go to Edmonton, Canada right now, and they're still in house lockdown, which is where I was living in Los Angeles for last year. I know what that was like. They cannot go on a run. If they go on a run, they get they literally get a citation and a ticket. And as of yesterday, you know, so we're starting to see this, like, this globalist, you know, we're starting to see the World Economic Forum's global reset start to take place in a sense, and people would say that's conspiracy. Just read it on their website. But it's so interesting to see how that COVID is, that sun is like right in your face. I see. It's so interesting to see how COVID has been used as another divisiveness to separate us in another fraction. And again, right now where we're seeing it isn't what happened. The sun.
See that comment?
I missed the comment. The butter knife.
Yeah. I saw Alex start laughing, and I was like, all right, that was a good job, person.
The comments are lit right now. That I lost my complete train of thoughts.
How's it going, David?
Marxism. Let's just talk about Marxism. Because yesterday we had a commander in the Space Force get fired, let go, released of his duty because he spoke out against Marxism. Jorge, you haven't spoke yet, so I want to hear your take on it. And I know Alex has a lot to say about this.
No, I want him to talk because I don't.
Jorge, well, yeah, and Jorge, you've been hitting this a lot on your social media. Woke corporations, how, you know, everything when it comes there, they are basically obeying and bowing to these ideologies. What's your take on what happened?
Yeah, so I won't comment just on the military one because I know about the story, but what I've been mainly focusing on and talking to people in actually big business and entrepreneurs is big business and woke and going more social justice activism. So one thing that me and this entrepreneur, his name is Vivek Ramaswamy, talked about was that, you know, back in the 70s and 80s, the liberals were against big business, big corporations, and they were, you know, anti all that stuff, you know, really pro-worker, pro-union. We saw that in the Occupy movement in the early 2000s. But what we're seeing now is that what a lot of people are calling is the political realignment, where now you're seeing the liberals actually side with big business and use those corporations in power to then basically punish anyone who doesn't have their political ideology. And now we're seeing the conservative party, or what I like to say is more the populists, say, hey, yeah, we've been saying the free market and capitalism is cool for all these years and big government sucks, but you know what's happening is these corporations and Amazon and Facebook are buying up all these politicians in D.C. The corporations are running everything. They're eliminating free speech. They're banning people off. I mean, Amazon right now is basically destroying small businesses in rural America all over the country. They treat the workers horribly. They also censor, like, you know, any controversial books on their platform. I mean, they had the power to take off Parler. I mean, so we're seeing really a political realignment where now conservatives are waking up and saying, hold on, the free market capitalism stuff, yeah, you know, maybe back in the day it was cool to just say let it run wild, but maybe it's time to break these companies up. Maybe Facebook and Google and these corporations are too powerful. We need to do something. And what's interesting is now the Liberal Party has aligned themselves with big business, which is shocking. You know, big business, like, for instance, like Amazon, a company like Amazon, all they need to do now is just tweet Black Lives Matter, while their own black employees don't even have health care or not even getting paid living wages. And this is something that needs to be talked about just way more on a larger scale. And I think the Conservative Party, it's not waking up as fast as I think it should be, but it is waking up and saying, hold on, free market capitalism, we need to stop it because it's punishing conservatives. I mean, look at MLB just moved the All-Star game out of Atlanta to Denver over the voting laws. So just from a corporation standpoint, they're getting too powerful. I mean, take the woke politics off. They're already getting too powerful. Right. But now they're, you know, doing all this diversity stuff. I know you guys saw earlier this year where United Airlines said that the next decade, their next 50% hires are going to be women or people of color. Like, what is that? Disney just got exposed by City Journal where they were teaching critical race theory to their employees of, like, I believe there was a section called How to Talk to Your White Employee About Race. And then another one was about, like, kids are not too young to talk about race. So I think just from a corporation standpoint, it's time to break these companies up. Let's go at them. Republicans, come on, grow some balls and go after Facebook and Google. Like, it's the time because I mean, look, and hold on, this is my last point. Today is like May 18th, and Donald Trump is still not on Twitter. So that should wake up everyone.
Come on.
Yeah, George, 100%. And here's the thing is I think this is a whole new form of this, like, it's almost like instead of government that's suppressing us, it's our businesses. And where people kind of didn't really expect that. I mean, that's where those talking points came from, right? We've always been pro-capitalist, all that stuff. And I think it gets to a point where these businesses get so big and these politicians realize that our Constitution and our government, actually, there are limits to what they can control. They see these they see these businesses with massive amounts of power, and they pressure these businesses to do their bidding when it comes to censorship, when it comes to anything like that. So pretty much what we replaced, like a sort of totalitarian government. I know we're not comparable as of right now, in my personal opinion, to China, but we're headed in a really bad direction where they're leveraging private businesses to do their bidding, and it's a major freaking problem. I mean, what did we see? George's point talking about how Democrats are pretty much that party of big business, because that big business is getting the job done for them. This last year, we saw the largest transfer of wealth in probably United States history. And what was the left's reaction? What was the Democrats' reaction? I mean, yes, there were some that were speaking out, maybe, but when it comes to the lockdowns, everything like that, taking businesses out of mom and pop shops, giving them to Amazon on a silver platter, and Amazon saying, thank you, keep these lockdowns going. Who's fighting for the small people?
Literally. So, and to that point, like, the one thing that Democrats have done, they're great with their messaging. And
by the way, Republicans screwed up on this too. I mean, I'm not going to let them off the hook there. Just want to clarify.
100%. But I mean, you have, like, into what George, is it George or Jorge? What do you want me to call you? Because
we're going to Jorge, baby.
We're going Jorge, baby. Okay. So so I mean, to what Jorge was saying with the MLB, you have, majority of people on the left, they're like, yes, boycott Atlanta and boycott Georgia and move the All-Star game. But who did this? Is there comments going on that I can't?
No. People keep dropping bangers. You're getting roasted in the comments.
No,
right
I'm talking now. People, everyone was roasting because I wasn't talking. I'm talking now. I just gave a long rant. Chill.
So funny. That was a good comment. You guys are that's good.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we should just have comedy night. Let's just all take 10 minutes each and just start having a little.
Hey, just listen to a roast night, dude. Just roast me all night, dude.
I'm not a comedian. Let's not do that.
Oh my gosh. Maybe we just, I don't know. Anyways.
Nah, keep them. They're good.
Keep them. They're good. So, I mean, but to what Jorge was saying, the people that this directly affected, this actual moving of the All-Star game out of Atlanta to Colorado, you literally took away jobs in a 90% black community and brought it to a 90%, or I'm sorry, not 90%, it was 80%, into a 90% white community of Colorado. Like, you literally hurt your own voters by moving this for a political spin. And that's why the messaging, the left has always done a great job, but the policies have always been so damaging and so divisive, and we've seen that.
But Jordan, one thing too is look, we can hammer the left all day. I mean, that's easy. The Republicans have been walking step in line with big business all the way. I mean, I agree. They are involved with selling out all of our jobs and shipping them to China. That's already the first problem, is all of our jobs that got hollowed out to China. And now they're in line with, Republicans taking so much money from Facebook. All you have to do is say, hey, I'm against free speech, but policy-wise, they never do anything about it. I mean, the fact that Trump is still not on Twitter and Facebook should worry everyone. That still Lord Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg have to decide if he could be on, if he could be a political figure. I mean, this is not, it's not okay. And I'm so surprised that no one is coming at these guys even harder. And what I'm going to find interesting is, if Trump does run, what does Facebook and Twitter do? They're going to be forced to put him back on. And another thing, too, is world leaders around the world are waking up to the power of big tech, because other leaders have already said, they're like, wait a minute, if you could ban the president of the United States, what does that mean for us over here? So, like I said,
let alone not even the president of the United States. Do you guys remember before the election when the story of Tony Bobulinski came out and the Biden hard drive, and you had the New York Post, you had big tech collude all together, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all together at the same time, and they suspended the New York Post and did not let and no one could reshare that story or post a story. Why? And like, I mean, when it comes just to the election itself, big tech will not only just suppress stop the president from speaking. If media organizations get too close to the fire, they will shut it down. Media, journalists, the president of the United States, and that, to me, that has been the scariest thing.
And I didn't even see any censorship of MSNBC or CNN for 4 years when they told us that Russia stole the election. Where was their censorship? Every time there should have been a CNN article on the whole Russia stealing election, there should have been a thing right there, warning. Blah 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 blah. But no, they didn't do that to CNN and MSNBC. They were given the pass, bro.
The problem is the right is not nearly as confrontational. I don't mean violent. I mean policy wise. When it comes to calling this stuff out, the Democrats and tech. Let's talk about tech. Actually, not even about Democrats, because George is right. Republicans have allowed this to go. They've allowed all of this to happen, all of it, because when big tech and these elites were testing the waters with, let's say, Alex Jones, people like that, people that you might look at, laugh, and just kind of say whatever. They've been testing the waters to where now they're at that point where they are banning the president of the United States, and it's accepted. People, I mean, really, people should be in the streets. This is a serious violation of people's
they were on
rights
January 6th.
Yeah,
hey,
true.
Hey, Jordan, really quick. This is where I was talking about is the political realignment. Is the left, the old liberals, and back in the 80s and 90s, they were the first ones who were for free speech, even before the conservatives. I mean, the old liberals, we used to fight for this stuff. And I was here in D.C. when it was announced that Joe Biden was going to be a president. I went to Black Lives Matter just to see the celebrations and interview people there. And I kind of had a moment of shock that all these people were celebrating, popping champagne, and they literally voted for the guy that voted us into the Iraq War, who, I mean, in my estimation, is a war criminal. So it's just like people need to wake up. That the liberals have shifted. It seems like now the right has to do something. They have to be more pro-worker. They need to talk about family more to win these voters over. Or once again, it's going to be, I think, a walk for them in 2024, possibly.
Well, yeah, and at the core of the Marxist ideology is to break the family structure up. And I mean, I'm reading a book right now called Love Letter to America, and it's written by a former KGB that served in the Soviet Union, and he talks about something called ideological subversion, and how they knew that they could never beat the states militarily or at war, but and they've been doing this now. He wrote this book back in 1984, and the way that they do this is they plant, they plant like different ideologies throughout our education system, through advertisements, through media. They get specific journalists to write certain stories, and now we see which now has turned into critical race theory and a bunch of other different ways, where now our kids, our college students, high school students are being trained to, one, hate their own country, hate the color of their own skin. We're becoming more racist. I mean, we're becoming more divided in every single way. People are more depressed. They have the suicide rates of everything. We have become to hate everything. And now you have people, because everyone is so pressed and they don't take this personal responsibility anymore. They have to find an oppressor, and it falls perfectly in line with this Marxist ideology. And Alex, you've been hitting this on your social media. I mean, it's crazy to me that this is even a topic of discussion or even debate in America. After with what we have from the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, what the fathers of this country, that the ones that died for, it's insane to me. But yesterday or 2 days ago, we had a space commander in the Space Force get fired. Are the comments lit right now?
I was just raising my hand.
Oh, but we had a space commander get fired for speaking out against Marxism, which is communism. Like this is Alex. What are your thoughts?
I'm not surprised by it. I didn't think that the military would become this woke though, and it's honestly getting extremely frustrating. Now, I know that if this was someone on the left that was in the military and that was coming out and wanting to speak on white supremacy or something like that, or how, you know, like white people in the military is oppressing black people, or, you know, whatever it is, whatever leftist talking point they want to talk about, if that was the case, there would be no issue here. Absolutely none. So I think there's a complete double standard. Now, I know when you're in the military, you really need to kind of keep your political opinions under wraps, you know, especially when in uniform. So I'm not in the military. I have a husband that's in the military. So, you know, I know that like he has to keep his political opinions under wraps and stuff. He can't really come with me to like specific events and everything, which I totally understand. But our military is getting so woke now to the point where, like, I don't know if you heard this, but I know the Pentagon is wanting to monitor military personnel for like extremism, you know, views or whatever it is
on their social media.
We all know that that's not their extremism in their dictionary is if you voted for Trump or if you have conservative views. That's what it is. And if they go by that, you're going to lose a big majority of your military if you choose to take people out of the military for having conservative views, because I can guarantee you that at least a little over half, I'm not going to say majority, but at least a little over half has conservative views. And I have a lot of friends that are in the military and that are former military, and none of them have ever said that their political views has swayed the way they do their job. They join the military to serve and protect this country, and it doesn't matter who's the president, it doesn't matter what their political views are, they're going to serve and protect the country because they love this country and they have one job, and they're going to do it. And I think it's absolutely insane that now the woke mob is coming for our military. I mean, do you want to have a weak military? Because that's where it's going.
I don't recall the biggest uproar when they were adding the anti-capitalist books to the military's book list either. I mean, that should have been. I know that the right was up in arms, sure, but that should have been met with just an absolute brute force of resistance. And I don't think it was. And I think the right. I don't know what it is, but I mean, they just. That's kind of what we're seeing in this country is that whole Trumpian America First, taking care of the people, that movement kind of birthed a, hey, you guys forgot about us because look how screwed up things have gotten. You let everything go, and this is where we are now. That's why you see so many conservatives in this country just filled with absolute anger. Sure, they're not the loudest. They're not like rioting a billion days in a row. Of course, there's January 6th, but I mean, you know, this is where this anger is stemming from, is people feel lost, people feel left behind, people feel like they're being ignored and not heard, and the country's changing, not the color of the country. They care about the ideas. And when it comes to this point where it's like, okay, defending Marxism in the military, adding anti-capitalist books to our military book list, these are major problems, and it's not just in the military, obviously. Schools, everything like that.
Yeah.
And
I always like to...
Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, I was just going to say, I always like to bring up the point of 9/12, because obviously no one wants another 9/11, and I hope that we don't ever have to have another 9/11. But, you know, I wish that we could have another 9/12 where it didn't matter what our skin color was, it didn't matter what our religion was, it didn't matter what our culture was, it didn't matter what our political views were. What mattered is that everyone was an American, and everyone loved this country, and we were there for each other, and we could have different views. We could have different views. We have diversity of thought. The left likes to preach all the time, diversity. There's not enough diversity in this country. No, you love diversity unless when it comes to diversity of thought, unless when it comes to someone that disagrees with your opinion, unless it comes to someone that disagrees with your mentality or doesn't want to jump on the bandwagon or doesn't want to cancel the latest person that a tweet popped up 10 years later. Like, it's absolutely insane that this diversity, there is diversity in this country, but there's not enough diversity of thought. And I think that's what used to make America so great, and not to like play on this whole MAGA thing, but like that's what made America so great, was being able to disagree with each other and to still be able to respect the fact that people had different views, and we were okay with that because we have a right to our opinions. And
I mean, to that point, people are being taught to hate this country. Really, it's but before you had immigrants that would come here. I mean, for instance, my grandpa came, my grandfather on my dad's side, like, waited years to get his visa that he could move from Colombia. My grandparents on my mom's side, they moved here from Greece. The same exact thing. When they became citizens, they were so grateful. They wanted to learn the language. They wanted to learn the values. They wanted to become and make this country better, because immigrants do. But now we're kind of being taught where even our own citizens are, it's like if you look at something, if you only look at one perspective of, over and over again, and all you hear is the bad things from the past, even though, we've dealt with a lot of these issues, but you don't see all the great things that we've as well done in the world. Of course, you're going to believe what you believe. And that's why a lot of times, to what James's point, I do blame the Republicans for how weak that we have been over the last 10 years or the 20 years. Because again, I mean, especially the 90s, the early 2000s, even up to really these last couple of years, we weren't a part of the civic process. We weren't being engaged. I mean, I didn't get into politics until about 2 months ago. I've never talked about politics. I never talked about Trump ever, because I worked in the entertainment industry, and in Los Angeles, I would get canceled right away. And so but what I saw on November 3rd and then January 6th, I was like, I have to get involved. And that's why I think it's so
Jordan.
important. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just totally cut you off. I thought you were wrapping it up.
Go.
Okay, well, I wanted to say, you right there, you getting involved in politics is you doing your part, in my opinion. We can't just, like you just said, we can't just not blame Republicans as well. And I'm not even talking about like elected officials. I'm literally talking about just your average, everyday conservative. Maybe you're not even conservative. Maybe you just reject radical leftism. That's okay. There's a lot of moderates that just are kind of apolitical. But we would totally not be doing anyone a very good service if we're not talking about what people can be doing. And a very important thing to be doing is exactly what you did. You got involved. You're doing your part. People can join local school boards. There was a comment in the comment section below that scrolled by maybe 10 minutes ago or something like that. And they were saying, yes, get involved in local school boards. I agree with that person 100%. Become a teacher. I don't care. Yes. You don't need to be a conservative. Just as long as you're not a lunatic, become a teacher. Teach young children. Teach college students. We need you. The country needs you. Get involved in tech. Get involved in local bureaucratic positions in local government. Because guess what? The left, over the last few decades or however many decades, has slowly been dominating all these sectors of our lives that can completely control our lives. You turn on Netflix. Right now, all you see in pretty much every single show is going to be a little dad bit of woke narrative there, woke narrative there, woke narrative there, Republicans bad. You guys ever notice the religious person in every single show is a fucking idiot? You ever notice that? Yeah. That's not on accident. That's not on accident. That's because these people that are getting involved in these industries, they're very far left. They control it, and they can show your kids what a conservative looks like from when they're this tall to when they're getting, to when they're our age. So Republicans need to get involved. And I mean, George, it's not like you're like the farthest right guy or anything like that. George just does a fantastic job at telling the truth and going out there and doing his work. And he's not a radical leftist that's going to give you some bullshit, to be honest with you. And Alex does a great job as well. Like, people need to get involved. Doesn't matter what it is, as far as I'm concerned, as long as it's one of those key points in your life that has influence over people, because we let all of that go.
That is such a good point. I mean,
I didn't even breathe.
No, that was so, I mean, even just the
you did what I do.
I know.
And Alexandra.
I mean, just being a teacher. You have 30 kids 5 days a week that you are in charge of influencing and making sure. I mean, train a child in the way they should go, and they will never depart from him. It's so true that we've kind of left. We haven't been engaged, and the left has, and they've won that battle. Now, speaking of Jorge, you had a hit piece on you this past week with The Intercept. Tell me about it, man, because I mean, you were all over my Twitter, all over my Instagram. What happened? What was even the report about? And then you were telling me that at Backlash. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, so basically The Intercept, for those who don't know The Intercept, it's news media. They're more progressive left. they put out a hit piece on what they labeled as the Riot Squad. So I believe in the piece they had me featured with the Daily Caller. They also had reporter Shelby with the Daily Caller, Richie McGinnis. They had, I believe they included like James's vlog piece in, like a vlog piece that he had in there. We had a good buddy Julio.
Vlog.
But essentially, they basically did a whole 24-minute video kind of attacking our work over the last summer. So for those who don't know, last summer, myself and a few other individuals just covered the riots all summer. And I mean, the reason is simple. No one else was doing it. We were on the front lines, and we were just giving people, the real media, risking our lives, traveling to different cities, chasing the biggest stories. And a lot of people wouldn't even know of the violence last year if we weren't there on the front lines. We broke a lot of stories, last year, to the point that Fox News had to start having us on TV. It got to the point where it was like you couldn't avoid us anymore. So
wow.
Basically that happened last summer, and I think that's where I think a lot of people probably found my work or started to discover me. But essentially, The Intercept did a huge hit piece on all of us. They did a 24-minute video saying how we basically distort the video, kind of make it seem that it's always Black Lives Matter violence, and just basically saying that we were doing propaganda. So the awesome thing is, when the hit piece was out, I was a little nervous because I didn't know how the public was going to take it. Obviously, we all know that it was BS. For those who don't even know me, like I just try to do the best job to just stay down the middle. I don't even vote. Like I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I don't vote. I went to community college for like journalism. Like I was raised on that, like that old school, like journalists don't vote type of thing. So that's kind of my thing. So I'm not really involved like that. They try to make it seem like I was a right-wing guy, but like I said, so when the piece was put out, I was just nervous because I didn't know what the public, response was going to be. But like instantly, we had
hold on. So real quick. So you didn't vote. I mean, this is like this is a pertinent. This is not. This is perfect as how the media will paint. What ethnicity are you? Because obviously you're Hispanic.
Salvadorian.
You're okay. So the media paints in a Salvadorian that did not vote as a right-winger. Why? Because they want to discount him. They want him to stop his work because they are ruining and they're pushing against the narrative. And that is the thing that the media does. And that's why, again, this is why you follow Alex. This is why you follow James. This is why you follow Jorge, because you get your news from the people that are literally recording it right there live. They are there. There's no filter. There's no big corporation that's telling them what they're allowed to put, what they're allowed not to. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like I had to make that point because this hit piece on you is the perfect example of media bias and fake news.
No, but just to kind of wrap it up, but basically, man, a lot of people had our back. Everyone spoke out for us. I think everyone that's on this video right now, I think, spoke out and defended us, and it just ended up being backfired. They got ratio. All of our fans basically trolled their Instagram, like they had to turn off the comments. Like, so everyone really had our back. Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore spoke out. People on the left, the right, the center. So that was honestly awesome to see. And then the thing that kind of, my takeaway was like, look at these guys. These guys have the privilege to be making six figures, to be in his room in Manhattan or, in a rich community. He's just sitting in his little room. He can make a whole piece on us reporters who are on the ground. We are making nowhere near that money, who have to risk our lives. It's not like me and James, when we're covering this stuff, when things pop off, we have 4 security guards that just pick us up. They throw us in an all-black SUV, and we're off to the Ritz-Carlton.
And by the way, they do that. They do that. You'll see like Fox or CNN, like they might be there for a quick second, but they do have security. Like George, we'll go by Jorge, but I call George. Jorge is totally spot on with that.
So Jordan, that's what I think just pissed me off was like look at you guys, man. You guys are making 6 figures. You're working for a media company that's supposed to be holding the powerful accountable. They should be exposing the DC politicians that are screwing over people on the left and the right. They're not doing that. Instead, they're focused on these 8 reporters who are on the ground, who did their job of reporting news. And the funny thing about the video is you're watching it, the guy's in black and white, and he talks very serious. And he acted like he broke this huge investigation story. Like, bro, all you did is create a 24-minute highlight tape for us. So thank you, man. But that was my biggest takeaway. How someone in the establishment media is coming after us. And look, if you want to play identity politics, it was 2 white reporters that put me and Julio in their promo video, so we were 2 Latinos. So why are 2 white guys targeting 2 people of color? What's up with that?
White privilege.
Mic drop.
White privilege.
Mic drop. To bank off of your statement, Jorge, I find it so rich. Always the people that are sitting in the comfort of their home or their studio writing hit pieces on people that actually have the spine, that actually have the balls, that actually have the courage to go down and do the actual reporting and actually see what's going on and be in the face of it, be in the middle of it. And as they're sitting at home in the comfort of their living room, basically criticizing people. If you think you could do a better job, then get off your ass, pick up a camera and go down there, go down into the middle of the BLM riots, go down to the border and do it yourself. I'm so tired of the left and even the right too, because there's a lot of spineless people on both sides, just constantly criticizing people that can do a way better job than they will ever do, and that is the reason why they're criticizing them.
And Jordan, I just want to say real quick, like I know right now we're like, like I'm glad that we're talking about this and all that stuff. I know people make jokes and all that stuff, but like for reality, like what is real though and what is reality for me is I think, and I just want to remind folks, is the goal of that hit piece was to end our careers. Like in all seriousness, the goal of that hit piece was so that one day I can't feed my family with what I do for a living. Yeah. So for me, I took it really personal too, because it was like, damn, bro, you didn't even just come after us. You wanted to make sure that I couldn't eat off this. You wanted to make sure that I couldn't feed my kids one day off this. I couldn't support a wife and family off this. That's what you did. So for me, I took it personal, but like I said, I'm glad everyone spoke up. And it was awesome, man. But
they're so well aware that they put an even bigger target on everyone's back as well. They're completely well aware of that. It's already a dangerous job. At least half the group has been assaulted, and they're well aware that, hey, if we get these people's faces out there, they'll get recognized even more. They painted BG on the scene as some right-winger crazy guy even when you're like behind closed doors, when you're talking to that guy, he's an amazing reporter. When you're talking to that guy, he doesn't even share his political opinions or anything like that, because he just wants to do his job. He just wants to show people what's going on. Literally the most mellow guy you've ever met in your life. For anyone that doesn't know who he is, he's the guy who filmed the one guy, the Antifa dude with the fiery feet. You guys remember that video?
Yeah. Oh, he recorded that video?
Yeah, it got memed into oblivion. Now, this guy is a straight up objective reporter when it comes down to what he does, and they even painted him as a right winger. I had Kaylin, I had Kaylin from Scriber on my YouTube channel. We talked about the the Million MAGA March, I think it was, and they highlighted that in this hit piece. They highlighted that saying that Kaylin lied about who was the aggressor. Kaylin actually tweeted out showing, hey, watch this video before you make an opinion of it, because he tweeted the full version as well, and we talked about it on my YouTube channel as well. These people, it was lazy reporting. It was a lazy hit piece, and George is right. It was designed to end people's careers. It was designed to slander. It was designed to make us look like we're freaking idiots, but they lied about, I mean, as far as I could see, every single thing that they brought up. And if they didn't lie about it, they maybe picked a slight mistake that someone made in a riot in typing or something like that. God forbid you make a screw up while you're typing your tweet while there's freaking riot canisters and tear gas surrounding you.
Gosh.
And I just want to add really quick is they try to make too is one of my coworkers is Richie McGinnis. They try to make him seem like a crazy right wing guy.
I know.
And the thing is, Jordan, the day of that Kyle Rittenhouse shooting, like he was reporting on the ground. I forgot who it was, but the guy that Kyle shot was right in front of Richie, and he tried to save his life, man. Like he literally took off his shirt and took him to the hospital. And look what they try to paint him out as this crazy, like, wants violence and all stuff, when he's literally, try to save the dude's life, man. Like, if you could do that in a moment like that, man, that's courageous. I can't say I would have done it, but it's just insane, man.
I think also another serious point of that was downplaying the riots. It's always about downplaying the riots. Hey, forget about that because there weren't that many, right? Well, there was hundreds, if not maybe thousands, and they're saying only, what was the number that they're using? 6% were violent. That's a shit ton of riots, or that's a lot of violent protests. And it almost seemed, I mean, I don't know about you guys, to me it seemed like there was 1 or 2 a week last year.
Oh,
it's this constant strive to downplay it.
Any issue that happens, like, I mean, any little thing and people are hitting the streets. And that's the scary thing of where we are at our country, where it's like anything could pop off and any could city burn at any moment. And that is the place that we're at. And I think this is the reason why we have to get involved and keep our own. I mean, because we really can't control the left. We really can't. We can't control the left politicians. We can't control their agenda and the narrative. What we can do is pressure the right and the people that represent us, and which goes back to James's point. All of us, we have to start getting involved. And even if that means, let's say you work 9 to 5, you work 60 hours a week, you got 3 kids. I know every person is on social media for 30 minutes a day. I know almost every single person is scrolling. They're going on TikTok. Spend 5 minutes a day. Find out who your city councilman is, who your school board is, who your mayor is. Find out who they are. Follow them on social media and just let them know in a DM, hey, we are following what you're doing now. Just even letting them feel that there's eyes on them, which could take you 5 minutes. It is the little things. But then I guarantee the moment that you start seeing the way that they are living their lives, and a great example, I've been working a lot with the team with Wake Up. If you guys know Wake Up with Linda and Red Pill Babe 1776, and they have a whole crew with American Patriot Community in Miami, and they have been creating a system in Miami where they have got like 500 people in Miami, and Wake Up with Linda, she will send out an Instagram or a post and sends 5,000 people hitting the mayor's comments when, a couple weeks ago, she's out at the beach at a party with Common and what's his name? Gosh, I'm blanking. Anyways, she's with a bunch of celebrities, not wearing a mask. The following day, she's at a political event outdoors and she's wearing a mask. And it's just like the hypocrisy. We have to start pressuring our politicians because it doesn't matter. I get the federal, but really local representatives matter even more because you can have a Ron DeSantis, the best governor in the country, in my opinion, in Florida, but you live in Miami, you're not benefiting any of his policies. And the reason why is because you have leftist local politicians that are doing whatever these school teacher unions are doing. And it's so important for all of us to get involved.
And I also think that people should support people more like, Jordan, you and I were talking about it, like grassroots people, like people that are actually paying more attention to the cause and actually putting more energy towards the cause and not like wanting to be famous or do all these fancy events and stuff or prioritizing profit over cause and so forth. Because there's a lot of people in the conservative movement specifically that rather be famous and hang out with famous people and do meet and greets and sign autographs and stuff like that than actually care about what they talk about on their Instagram live the next day.
Yep.
But then you have people like James and Jorge actually going down to these riots and interviewing all kinds of people on both sides of the political spectrum. I went down to the border. Both James and Jorge went down to the border as well too. They got amazing content on that. And, I feel like place your energy at people that are dedicating all of their time and energy on the cause and what they're passionate about and furthering the conservative movement or just whatever political background you're in, or just furthering, helping America and just wanting America to succeed and wanting America to be better off, and not focusing your energy on people that would rather do meet and greets every single day and wear fancy outfits and, get pictures taken and want to be the famous celebrity in the movement. I can name names, but I don't want to get in trouble. I'm going to end it at that.
Good stuff, Alex.
Alex, I think that was a huge important point because not only are we talking about, I'll be speaking for myself here, but like not just like social media people. I'm talking about even candidates who run. Notice that they're grifting too. A lot of these people who run in the right, they'll just do this ad where they walk around the city and the city's all bad, and they'll just say socialism bad, Democrat bad, and then they'll go viral and they'll get all this support. They'll get millions of dollars in donations, and guess what? They're not doing the boots on the ground. They're not talking to voters. How can I help you? Policy. People just care about taking pictures. I'll call them out one right now. Kimberly Clayson raised all this money, did no boots on the ground, just did a viral video, and conservatives fell in love with her. I think Trump featured her like the next week. He had her like speaking. She didn't even do anything on the ground. She lost by more than 80%. This is across the country. Stop falling for these fake conservative grifters who, like I said, I'm not speaking for Alex, but Alex is right. There's a lot of people that they just care about the Instagram pictures and meet and greets. And I'm here and I'm flying over there. Like, look, if a candidate who hasn't won and is grassroots, if they're flying over the country doing social media stuff and they're not in the community that they say they're going to represent, vote them out. Don't give them any love. Like, stop falling for these grifters. Just because they say MAGA or socialism is bad, they should not have your vote. Make them earn it. See a policy. Here in California, we're seeing right now that Major Williams is not that candidate, doesn't have anything policy. Yeah, you could talk the talk, but you have to have policy. What are you going to do for us? What are you using the campaigns for? And I think that's not happening. So that's one thing that on the right, I'm fascinated that someone could just say socialism is bad, AOC bad, and they'll just like have millions of dollars donated. It's like
or like millions of likes and followers, and then they'll get money off of that with Instagram and social media and stuff like that. I mean, it's actually insane. Like, I actually get extremely frustrated with a lot of conservatives in this movement that just care more about how many Instagram followers they have or how famous they are, or just like I'm gonna stop talking before I get in trouble. Maybe if I take a few shots, I can name some names. But
speak truth without fear, Alex.
Yes. I was gonna say maybe next time I'll take some shots so I can name some names, but then I don't want to be like one of the people that
calls people peasants.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we're reaching an hour, so I mean, these I normally keep these at 60 minutes. I'd love to have, if you guys want 30 seconds or whatever, final thoughts before we end this. Really quick. We were just talking about getting involved. One thing that we just worked on with that team from Miami is we create a one-page PDF. It's a 3-step process of how to pressure and keep your local government officials accountable. So if you go to speaktruthwithoutfear.com, you put in your email, we will send it to you for free. It's an incredible guide, speaktruthwithoutfear.com, and this will literally teach you how to do this in a simple 3-step process. It even gives you a script of what to say when you make the phone call, the website of how you find these representatives in your local area. So I just want to throw that out there real quick. Let's go. We'll end with Alex because we started with Alex this time. We'll go Jorge, James, and then Alex about just quick final thoughts, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
No, I just want to say, man, thank you for having me on. This was a fun convo with everyone. I think everyone here is doing great work, so keep killing it, guys. And, yeah, if you guys like to follow me, check it out.
Yeah.
I think you guys will like the news.
Do you have a website anywhere they can follow you?
Just hit me up on Jorge Ventura TV on Instagram, and it's Ventura Report on Twitter. Check out all the news. But yeah, this was awesome.
James.
Right on. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Jorge, Alex, you guys are amazing. I've always supported your work, so this was a lot of fun to do this with you guys. I do want to say, I think I'll end with a call to action. Spend this week. If you are in that, I don't know, it doesn't even need to be financial, but if you are in that financial position, or you are able to focus on sharing people's content, and I'm not talking about myself, don't worry. Go look for people. One great person, in my opinion, Vince Dow's working on. Vince Dow is someone that I just mentioned, right? Congman. I like Congman a lot too. I don't know why I'm mentioning just Asian guys, but still.
I love Congman.
Yeah, stop Asian hate. That's why I'm doing that. So, but you guys, spend this week looking for people that you want to uplift. It does not need to be financially, but look for people that you want to uplift, and then also focus on, I saw a comment, hey, I'm 16. Any advice for me? Well, focus on what you're good on. And then those categories that we were talking about, consider one of those. Seriously, consider one of those. All right. So that's it. You guys can find me, jamesclue.com / whatever, YouTube. So you guys can find that there.
And to that point really fast, if you're a video editor, a photographer, whatever, I mean, we could use your skills and support as well. It doesn't have to be financially.
Exactly.
All of these guys are literally in the field. If there is a skill, it might be helping write articles or captions or helping out with social media management, whatever your skill is, there is a way for you to get plugged in and to fight for your country. And these are the people to do it. Alex, we'll end with you and then we'll call it.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks. What was this, my second time on or third time on or whatever?
I think it's third now.
Third, you just love me, don't you?
I do.
No, but thanks for having me on. And these guys are awesome. And I think all four of us definitely, like, we're always uplifting each other, and definitely do what James did. And yes, and it's just I definitely support the people. Definitely support the people that are really focused on the cause and really just doing this out of passion and wanting to help and be productive. And I think my last little advice would be to turn off mainstream media every once in a while and open up a book and learn that way, because that's going to get you far.